I'm feeling smug. I'll regret it later, but I'm feeling smug. I went in to wash my face, brush my hair into the bathroom downstairs, which I tend to use more than upstairs, and ended up cleaning the sink because we have a washing up bowl sitting in the sink so that we're saving water. And the sink is a square sink, so it's got corners and it's gradually got dirtier and dirtier. And with my hands, I can't clean and get into those corners, and it's been left and left and left, hoping for a cleaner. And I've just cleaned it. I've cleaned it. I've cleaned all round there. I've cleaned there's little baskets with soap and everything in. Cleaned all of that. And I'm feeling smug. It's a very small thing for some people, but it's a big thing for me. And I can already feel that my hands didn't like doing that. Thank you very much. So tant pis, but I'm feeling good about that. I spoke about I spoke about the electricity expected electricity cuts, and some people were surprised and didn't seem to have had any information about that. I'm not saying that we've had information right now, but several months back, and I can't remember how many months back it was, that it became apparent that because of the war in the Ukraine and because Russia was withholding resources and had cut down gas supplies, that had an impact on electricity supplies. I think some of the gas power stations are run with electricity or whatever. So for the last few months, we have been much more careful with electricity because I think electricity somehow is stockpiled for winter, and what the talk was several months ago was that the stockpiles would not be enough to get us through winter, and all of the prefectures and the mayors and all of the I'm going to do one on aging. I'm going to do a fucking vlog on aging and memory because this is really pissing me off, losing words. All of those people have been looking at ways to save on electricity. So street lighting's been toned down. Street lighting has been reduced in terms of it's not coming on until a certain time, or it's turned off half an hour sooner. I noticed we were in town the other evening, and the Abbey wasn't lit, and that's always lit. I mean, it's a beautiful landmark, um, and it wasn't lit. So actually sitting there in the dark, I knew it was there and I could just about see it. But as people are driving through, for the tourist industry, people are driving through and they're not seeing it because you just wouldn't notice it, which is very unusual. So we've known for some time, and I'm surprised that people haven't known that. So we've been much more careful indoors. I'm standing under a really bright daylight light here. He's only got one window, which is this door behind me. There was a window at the back which had to be blocked up because of him next door. So Mark likes lots of light. We have, lived with lights on at this time of year with, if the shutters are closed, lots of lights on. But rooms that we're not in with lights on, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous anyway in terms of cost. So in the last couple of months, I've been much more careful about when I finished in the kitchen, turning everything off as I walk out because it's empty. And Mark's in here and I'm in the lounge. So, and I have one light on in there and he has this light on in here. And I've noticed over the last month, will walk out of here now and turn everything off if he's leaving here, even when he's only leaving here for 10 minutes. So I'm impressed with that. So that's what we've been doing. And that's why it's a European energy problem. It's not just France and it's not just the UK. It's a European thing. And over winter, we're going to be having cuts in electricity. And I think it was Isabeau that says that there will be a maximum over winter of 10 10 power cuts. So it's not too bad. It's not, it's not as bad. But when we started planning, when we put things in place for ourselves, I thought it was going to be worse. I imagined it would be worse, but she said it's going to be a maximum of 10 hours. And it sounds like that those 10 cuts, not hours, 10 cuts. And it sounds like they're going to be at specific times of the day. So they are going to be, I think, 10 till midday, and then sort of early evening until 8 o'clock. These are times when maximum electricity is being used because people are cooking the midday meal and cooking supper. So that's probably why those hours have been chosen. And people have been talking about how they will get around that. And I talked about how I could cook ahead of time and then thinking about heating it. And people have suggested things like hay boxes, and there's a thing called a wonder bag, which I know about. But it's that's okay if you're cooking stew, but I don't want to live on stew and soup. So, those sort of things. It's the sort of meals especially when I'm doing a Fast 800 meal. It is a meal that's made in sort of half an hour, and it's pieces of meat or fish and some vegetable or an accompaniment. Polenta, cauliflower rice, and parmesan, which I love. It's that sort of thing that you need immediate heat to be cooking on. So, but that's okay. I can work around that. We have got a butane gas stove. I think a small single burner one. I think we gave stoves. There's camping stoves. I think we gave those for refugees years ago. We've got torches, and we've got Mark's got paraffin lamps, plenty of things that we can have to provide light. Our Kindles are backlit, so that's not an issue. I'm not sure whether it was Isabeau or someone else mentioned, which was really I think important, and I hadn't known, is that it's quite possible that not only will you lose electricity and whatever, but after a while you may lose your phone signal, because the electricity masks can only last for so long on battery power. So you may be feel a bit isolated, I suppose. That's a bit worrying for people that are vulnerable. You might not have access to your phone, which is that's quite worrying. And I only picked that up last night as she was commenting, and I haven't reread it this morning. So yeah, we have all the things that we need to put in place. What we did buy, and I did a vlog on this, and I've vlogged about it before this arrived. What we did buy was a power pack, because I was very concerned that we would lose power when we're in bed sleeping and we use CPAP machines, which require electricity to run. And I am very reliant on that. I think I've had sleep apnea since early teenagehood. I remember having sleep apnea. So I'm really quite reliant on that. I think Mark less so. He would feel less concerned about falling asleep without his mask, although he isn't the one that lays next to him and hears him snoring and not breathing. And it was me that pointed out to a doctor eventually that he'd got sleep apnea, because most people with sleep apnea don't realise that they have it. It's their partner that realises they have it. Anyway, so we bought the power pack. It's called an EcoFlow, and I did a short vlog showing the EcoFlow. It wasn't cheap, but for me it was important to be able to back up our CPAP machines. However, it sounds like the cuts will be during the day, which is better. So we could plug freezers in or fridges in or things like that, but then freezers are fine for hours without electricity, and the fridge will be fine. So I don't know what we'll do. We might not have to resort to using the power pack. So that's that. Lizzie came yesterday, which was lovely. She wasn't due till 3 o'clock today, but she came 24 hours early because she'd got the day wrong. It's quite funny. I was filming that vlog about, you know, chickens and sheep, and I'd come to the end of it and was just sort of beginning to wander back up the garden, and I could hear talking in the back door, and I could hear Mark talking, and I thought, oh, he must have answered my phone, and maybe he's talking to somebody on the phone, and then I could hear a woman's voice, and I thought, well, it could only be Joe, but Joe doesn't normally just turn up, and it was Lizzie. And we had a lovely afternoon, a really lovely afternoon, discussing um, the commission. We wanted to commission a piece of her work because I love her work. I did it. If you look back, there's an exhibition of her work. It's very, very deep, her work. It's, you know, she uses sort of people provide her with words and themes and ideas and objects, small objects and things, and she, which means something, you know, it's something that means something to them, and then she'll build her piece around that. But it's a very, it's not a literal piece. It's deeper than that. You have to look really hard to work out what everything is and how it connects. So we wanted to commission her to do a piece for us, and it can take ages. You know, we might not see it for a year, we might not see it for 18 months, but that's fine. But I wanted to get her to, you know, agree to speak about it, because I think I spoke to her, I don't know, a few weeks back, and I went, can we talk about it? She went, oh, can we talk about it another time? So she has to be forced into making these pieces. So we had a lovely afternoon talking about stuff like that. And then I took her on a tour of the art around the house, because she hadn't seen it and hadn't realised that we were both painting, and she really, really inspiring about my stuff, and more so about my oh god, I was going to call it free range, my freestyle painting. You know, when I get a bit carried away and I'm not just copying a Modigliani or a Van Gogh or a Picasso or whatever, but when I'm actually just freestyling. She said, I can see the energy in that, and you really need to be concentrating on that or doing that, more of that. I can see that you copy really well, that's fine, but I can see your energy in some of these pictures that that you know, you could carry on doing, and it's really inspiring and really lovely to hear that from an artist, professional artist. So I'm going to, it's inspired me now. I haven't got any canvases, and it's sort of made me realise that actually having an easel for Christmas, because I had no idea what I want for Christmas, and Mark did buy me several Christmases back a box that turns into a bit of an easel, but that needs to stand on a table, and we've got rid of the table, and so an easel, sort of like on like this tripod, I suppose, an easel so I can sit or stand and do my painting, will be something nice to have for Christmas. So we'll sort that out. So it was a lovely afternoon. We had a cup of tea. We'd opened some biscuits, so there were a couple of biscuits left for her, and so she's coming again today at 3, because we're then going to Cleo's. So, but it was really nice to see her. So yeah, that's it about the electricity. So it is a European thing. So those of you that are in Spain or elsewhere, have a look, have a good dig around, because you will also, I'd be surprised if you don't experience power cuts as well. I haven't been heard anything from my electricity company. What I heard yesterday and what I read to you yesterday was from the water company, and saying that you may lose your water whilst the electricity's off. So it was a warning, and it isn't usual. Somebody said, is that normal? And no, it's not. This is all down to the war, and the Russians cutting off our supplies. Why the fuck we rely on Russia for supplies is just awful, isn't it? It makes us really vulnerable. So I hope that those that can are coming up with new ideas to so not be reliant on energy from Russia. I think it's the gas pipeline. And that also, if you may recall, about 6 weeks ago, that the pipeline, the gas pipeline, was sabotaged in around Norway, somewhere in the sea, and you know, the Russians blamed one country, and another country blamed the Russians or whatever, but the gas was escaping. So that pipeline that we rely on has been sabotaged. So yeah, get prepared, but I don't think it's the end of the world. So I'm not talking about prepping. I'm just talking about this is how we're dealing with this crisis. And I think I'm not going to talk about prepping. I'm going to stop there. But I will do a vlog about aging and memory and word loss, because it's really quite significant, I'm noticing with me, not just when I'm doing this, but in my head when I'm playing my game or something I'm doing. I'm going to talk about it in another vlog. Okay, have a good day.